Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the state of the race in the 2024 presidential election after the presidential debate between Harris and Trump, and basically where things stand with the electoral map as if right now. But before we get started, make sure you guys are subscribed, click the bell so you don't miss out on my content, press like button, share this video, and also don't forget we do have memberships. You can find a link to that in the description section. Now back to the topic of today's video. Now before we get onto the map, real quickly, as you can see right here, Donald Trump currently has a 50% chance of winning the election, and Kamala Harris is currently sitting at a 49% chance of winning this election according to Poly Market. And so according to the odds, it is basically a toss-up, 50-50 for either candidate, but Donald Trump has the slight advantage considering in recent elections past he was severely underestimated. So realistically, he is the favorite in this election according to Poly Market. Now, it really varies on what you take a look at. For example, on 538, you would find that Kamala maybe has this slight advantage, or on RCP, things look much different. But on Poly Market, yes, Donald Trump does have better odds at the current moment. And now, you know, the difference between the states I have filled in gray and the states I have filled in yellow is that the states filled in yellow are, I believe, the real crucial swing states that can really ultimately decide the outcome of this election. The real battleground states are yellow. And now I believe the states that are filled in gray are still, quote unquote considered battleground states. I'm using quotations because they're not really competitive, even though some people may consider them swing states. For example, Colorado is considered a swing state. In my opinion, it is not. Same thing goes for something like Ohio. Ohio is considered a swing state, but in my opinion, it is not. I believe the real swing states come down to the states filled in yellow: Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. Those are the real, actual swing states that we will be paying the closest attention to on election day. So let's begin with some of these states. I do think Colorado is now solid blue for Kamala Harris. I do think that her VP pick, Tim Walz, would really help in this state. Colorado is actually shifting towards the left. It is getting bluer. It's not going to be competitive at all. I do think she will be able to get double digits in the state as Joe Biden did in 2020. Probably get around 10 percentage points if I had to make a guess with the estimated margin. And I also do think that the state of New Mexico is going to be likely for her. I do expect her to win this state by roughly 7 to 8 percentage points, somewhere around that margin. Likely comfortable one on election day. Obviously, you have Albuquerque, a Democratic stronghold county that has a lot of white liberals. It's hard for Trump to overcome the votes in there. And then, obviously, in Minnesota, she picked Tim Walz as the VP, who is literally the governor in this state. He would help her electorally with that home state advantage for the VP. Also, Minneapolis, the suburbs here are really trending towards the left, especially with that women vote. Maybe that could really turn out for Kamala Harris. Also, she did get endorsed by Taylor Swift, so maybe that can, kind of off topic, but maybe that can really sway things. I'm not quite sure. And then the likely states for Donald Trump in this case, I do think is going to be Ohio, Texas, and Florida. Those will be the three likely states for him after the debate's impact. They're actually going to remain likely for him. They're not going to really change at all. I do think similar to Minnesota, J.D. Vance is he's from Ohio. That's his home state. So you have that advantage electorally, and it would go to Donald Trump's benefit. Also, it's not going to be close at all. I do think Trump would probably get around 10 points. I won't be surprised if he does surpass double digits in the state of Ohio. It's getting redder. And then as for Florida, I expect Trump to get around 9 percentage points. Maybe he can't get 10 points, considering that just 2 years ago in the midterms, DeSantis got roughly 19%. And even Marco Rubio, who's less popular in this state, I would say, managed to get 13 points. He passed 10%. And so I won't be shocked if Trump does end up getting this state close to somewhere, maybe 9 to 10 points, a likely margin on election day. Especially in Miami-Dade County, it flipped from blue to red to DeSantis in the midterms, and especially Hispanics, Cuban Americans specifically, are really trending towards the right in this state. I think the entirety of Florida overall has abandoned the Democratic Party. And as for Texas, obviously this is another border state, or actually the first border state that we are taking a look at in this video, and the issue of immigration is a losing one for Kamala. She cannot address that whatsoever. You take a look at the debate, literally she just couldn't do anything about it. And so, with that being said, I don't think it's going to be close at all. I expect Trump to win Texas by about 8 percentage points on election day, a likely margin, not going to be close whatsoever. Like I mentioned, immigration's a losing issue for Harris. She can't address that whatsoever. And I don't think Texans are going to like a candidate like Kamala Harris whatsoever. And two more states filled in gray, Virginia and in New Hampshire. I do think New Hampshire is going to be likely for Kamala Harris. Has a lot of college-educated voters, and college-educated voters specifically really turn out well for Democrats. And especially considering Tim Walz is her VP, he really, as governor, Tim Walz really focused on education, and I think that can really go well for New Hampshire voters, especially the college-educated ones. I do think she would win New Hampshire on election day by probably roughly 5 to 6 percentage points. I don't think it's going to be close. I think Donald Trump is going to lose New Hampshire in 2024. I also do think that Virginia is going to be slightly more closer than New Hampshire, considering that the governor here, Glenn Youngkin, endorsed Donald Trump. He's very popular. Not only that, also he's trying to mandate election day laws, mandating paper ballots, and I think that really can go to Donald Trump's benefit. Also, ultimately, at the end of the day, it also means that the state will be called way faster than usual. So she's going to win Virginia by a lean margin, but I do think it will vote to the right of New Hampshire in this year's election cycle. I do think Harris wins this state by roughly 4 to maybe 5 percentage points. And then we have the real battleground states, lastly, to cover for this video, filled in yellow. Starting off with the lean states for Donald Trump, I do think Nevada is going to be lean for him, as well as Arizona and Georgia, as well as North Carolina, after the debate's impact. Let's begin with Nevada. So according to Polymarket, Donald Trump has the slight advantage in the state. And by the way, this adds up to 101%, which makes no sense at all. So somehow Trump's getting 51% of the vote, and Kamala Harris is getting 50% in this state. So yes, Donald Trump, has a slight advantage. And one thing people say is that Republicans actually get overestimated in Nevada. Now, that may be true, but it's only for the midterms. That does not count for the general election. Yes, Republicans are overestimated on the governorship and the Senate, as they were in 2022. It's fair to say that. But it's not fair to say that Donald Trump, specifically, is overestimated in Nevada, because that is not true. Joe Biden was actually overestimated by 2 points in the state of Nevada in the 2020 election. So I do think they will underestimate Trump once again. Therefore, he's going to win by around a couple percentage points, a lead margin in my opinion. I think he's going to flip Washoe County, as well as have skyrocket turnout in the Vegas area or Clark County among Hispanic voters as well. I think that's key. That will be key to his victory in the state. And then as for Arizona, Donald Trump's chances are significantly higher in the state than where his lead is in Nevada at 60%. To Kamala Harris's 40%, according to Polymarket betting odds in the state of Arizona. I do think because this is another border state similar to Texas, that is a losing issue once again for Kamala Harris. And I don't, it's going to be, I think if you were to vote for Kamala Harris, it would be a gamble, because already what, 4 years of Trump was already like, whether it was bad or good for you. You already had the Trump presidency experience of 4 years. Now, what you don't know is how Kamala Harris would, pan out. Her presidency would pan out. Even though she's a VP, maybe you can get a sense if Trump correctly ties, her record to the Biden administration, it would make her look bad. But I do think if, we already know what Trump's like. It would be a gamble to vote for Kamala Harris not knowing what she's like. And considering that gas prices were lower under the Trump administration, illegal border crossings were much lower, I do think Arizonans are going to vote for Donald Trump by probably, I would say, 2 to 3 percentage points. Now, it is true. This state is actually shifting towards the left. It is getting bluer. Arizona just elected Democratic Governor Katie Hobbs in the 2022 midterms for the first time since, I believe, 2009. Also, they have a Democratic Senator, Mark Kelly, obviously. So statewide, overall, Arizona is a very blue state. And in the future, don't be surprised if they constantly elect Democrats up and down the ballot. I won't be shocked. This state is getting bluer indeed. Now, it's ultimately going to come down to Maricopa County. The whole state of Arizona on election day is going to come down, the entirety is going to come down to Maricopa County. And there is a realistic scenario in which Harris winds up winning Maricopa, but she still loses this state. Because, for example, she can still win Maricopa County by, let's just say, 1%. And Donald Trump, that's not enough for her to win this, actually. Donald Trump would still come out with the victory in the state of Arizona. Because just 4 years ago, Biden had won Maricopa by roughly around 2 percentage points. and he only had won this state by a margin of 0.3%. That's extremely narrow, of like 11,000 votes. So yes, Donald Trump does not have to win Maricopa County, which is why I think he has the advantage currently in this state. I think he would have to do better with the McCain-style voters. If he keeps on bashing John McCain, they're not going to like that. Arizonans love John McCain. And also, the independents, the undecideds are really going to be important for Donald Trump. And I think after that debate, just like Alan Lichtman says, is that debates don't really change the outcome of the election, which I happen to agree with. So even though Donald Trump lost that debate, I still think that's not going to make a difference, as he will win Arizona in 2024. And then you have, obviously, the state of Georgia, in which I also do agree with Polymarket that Trump's going to win, because his chance is currently at a 59%, to Kamala Harris's 42 percentage points in this state. So I do think that, obviously, the margin for Biden was extremely narrow in 2020. I think he got very lucky. Obviously, he had COVID in his favor. He had BLM in his favor. The major celebrity endorsements in his favor. And also, there were limited third-party candidates, not really a lot of them, which all went to Joe Biden's benefit. Because in 2016, there were more third-party candidates. It went to Trump's benefit. And that's one disagreement I have with Alan Lichtman, is because he says third-party candidates only help the challenger party, which is just not true. Because RFK was helping the incumbent party, by the way, which is literally why that is not true. And so in order for Harris to win this state, she would have to do tremendous in Atlanta, the metropolitan area, and the suburbs. The suburbs especially are really important in this election. I don't think she's going to be able to do it. Therefore, Trump's going to win Georgia by around 1 to 2 percentage points, around that margin, if I had to make a guess. Also, the governor here, Brian Kemp, is trying to pass election day laws in which all absentee ballots have to be submitted by 8 p.m. and they won't be accepted any later. That would really go to Donald Trump's benefit, similar to the mandating paper ballot only on election day from Virginia. And also, this state would be called faster, potentially on election day or election night instead of election week, as we saw in 2020. And then you have North Carolina, in which, as of right now, I do expect Trump to win the state, and I think the polls are severely underestimating him. And so I think he's going to probably win this state by probably 2 to 3 percentage points, a little bit more than Georgia. The state's getting redder. If you really, take a deep dive into this state, you take a look at voter registrations. Republicans are gaining in terms of new voters on their side that they did not originally have in the 2020 election. So that would really go to their favor. Also, when you had both of these states, Arizona and Georgia, flip to Biden in 2020, North Carolina remained red, and it rejected that, and it stayed red for Donald Trump. And so it goes to show you how much more red of a state North Carolina is in terms of shifts than Arizona or even Georgia is, which is why I do think out of the 3 states, Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina is the reddest of all of them. And then we move on to the Rust Belt before we end off this video. Starting off with Wisconsin. I do think, as of right now, Trump's going to win the state by a tilt margin. I think it's going to come down to Milwaukee. The main reason why Biden won the state was because of Milwaukee. I think it's going to come down to those 20,000 voters. That's the margin Biden won by 0.6%, which, by the way, is a less of margin than Trump, his margin in 2016. So Trump actually did better than Joe Biden in terms of the margins. Obviously, those are different candidates. But if Harris doesn't get, high enough turnout in Milwaukee, she's not going to be lucky enough to win the state. And keep in mind that Wisconsin voted to the right of both Michigan and Pennsylvania in the 2020 election, in 2016, and I believe the Obama era as well. So Wisconsin actually is the reddest Rust Belt state of the 3, which is why I believe the polls are completely garbage. Because according to 538, you take a look at 538 right now, they currently say Pennsylvania is going to vote to the right of Wisconsin, which literally never ever happens. Wisconsin is supposed to be more red than Pennsylvania, but the polls on 538, suggest the exact opposite. I just don't believe that. I expect Trump to flip Door County, and if he flips Door County, he's probably going to win the state. And then you have Michigan, obviously that large uncommitted vote of 100,000 voters voting uncommitted in the Democratic primaries. Now, I understand that was against Joe Biden, but it shows you that maybe Democrats don't have the enthusiasm in this state. But I do have Kamala Harris winning the state, and the main reason why is because it was the bluest Rust Belt state in 2020 and in 2016 and the Obama era as well. Michigan voted to the left of both Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. Biden had won the state by nearly 3 percentage points. So I do think Kamala Harris's margin in the state would be probably around 1 percentage point. At tilt 1, it's going to be extremely close. I think Detroit, the suburbs here are trending towards left. And if Kamala Harris has skyrocket turnout among the women vote, I think that really can help her. Also, the governor, who is very popular, Gretchen Whitmer, she has endorsed Kamala Harris and she has her backing. So I think all of those factors really would help Kamala in the long run. But you have to keep an eye on that large uncommitted vote. I think maybe that can sway things, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's not going to be enough to flip the state from blue to red. So Kamala will win Michigan, as my prediction. And then you have Pennsylvania as the last and final state with its 19 electoral votes. So as of right now, Donald Trump has the advantage. He is favored according to poly market betting odds with a 52% chance to Kamala Harris's 49% in the state of Pennsylvania. So I do think it's going to come down to probably Erie County and Pittsburgh and the Philadelphia suburbs. Also Central County and Northampton. I do think if Trump's able to flip Erie County, which by the way in the primaries, Nikki Haley got a lot of that vote share, which she has endorsed Donald Trump. That may be scary, but I don't think that should worry him at all. And then if he does flip Northampton County, which he's probably going to win the state if he does, which Biden only won it by 0.7%, he's probably going to win the state. And he got shot in Butler County, which is right next door to Pittsburgh, which is why I believe he will have skyrocket turnout in the Pittsburgh suburbs. And like I mentioned earlier, the polls in 538 are suggesting that Pennsylvania will be the reddest Rust Belt state of them all in this election. Therefore, I do believe Trump will win Pennsylvania on election day or election week, whatever it is. I don't really care, but probably 1 percentage point. A tilt margin, it's going to be extremely close. And if Harris doesn't have that skyrocket turnout in Philadelphia or the suburbs here, she's probably not going to end up winning this state. And as for Central County, Donald Trump still can afford to lose his county as he did in 2016 and still ended up winning the state. So that's not going to matter at all. It matters if he improves on his margin, and he probably will. And if he does that, he's going to end up winning this state. It's going to come down, obviously, to the blue-collar workers, the middle class, obviously those union workers, which, by the way, Kamala Harris received endorsement from the UAW, which is not going to go in favor of Donald Trump, obviously, but still, I don't think that's going to matter at all, as I do have him getting 297 electoral votes. So Kamala Harris is 241, and this is my prediction after the debate's impact. I think there will be no impact at all, and there might be a chance we do see a third presidential debate. And so let me know what states you agree with or disagree with in the comment section down below. This is my updated map. And one last final reminder is to subscribe, click the bell so you don't miss all my content, press like button, share this video. Also, we have memberships. You can find a link to that in the description section if you are interested. That's pretty much it. Thank you, everyone, for watching.